Well, Hannah, you grew up in the digital age with cell phones and iPads and Hannah Montana. Um, there were jobs then. I was thinking about this. Like there were jobs then that like didn't really exist, or we didn't at least dream about. It's nothing I could have even ever dreamt about growing up in the 90s. But what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a veterinarian for the longest time, and then I realized I would have to euthanize animals, and I was like, I'm not gonna
Oh,
do that. I was like, yeah, no, because I get sad when animals, like, I think everybody gets sad when animals die, but I get sadder when animals die than when humans die. So I was like, I'm good.
100%. Yeah, I never wanted to be a veterinarian because I cannot see animals in pain. This week's movie was actually really hard, but and when I was growing up, I wanted to be president. And it wasn't for like politics or anything like that. It was like because I could make the most impact and help people is what I thought. But I won't even get into that. What I'm going to get into is one of the things that I recently wish that I could have dreamt about as a kid and like wish that I could have been, which is a professional eater. So I recently stumbled upon Katina Eats Kilos, and I know Hannah actually already knows this because I've been every week telling her like you have to check out Katina Eats Kilos. And as someone who probably like isn't as obsessed with watching people eat food, a lot of people have kind of avoided watching her videos, but as someone with food allergies and like way too many stomach problems and like I am obsessed with watching her just like eat whatever the heck she wants and stays super fit. In the 90s, like growing up, a competitive eater was somebody that just like ate a crap ton of hot dogs. And I never, ever, ever wanted that. That would never have appealed to me. I didn't even like hot dogs. And so that just looked miserable. So I never would have thought of this. But her like YouTube channel and everything that she's doing now is so different than what competitive eaters and professional eaters like did when I was growing up. So it's so cool to even think about this as a job. She gets paid to travel and eat food. So I guess she also used to be in the military and like her workout regimen is insane. So she can take
God.
down like 22 slices of cheesecake in one sitting and make it look like only the last five were difficult, which is mind-boggling. I can't even eat cheesecake. I'm allergic to like seven ingredients in it. So so
Real.
yeah. So my favorite
Yeah.
video of hers is like actually when she like did this English tea challenge. And so she got like English tea or coffee, and then it's supposed to be like an English like all the things that you would get if you were going to have like tea time in England. And so there was like sandwiches and there's salads and veggies and like an assortment of like cake, but it was a whole giant multiple tiered cake, but it was like multiple different kinds of, I think there were two slices of each thing, like red velvet and chocolate. And honestly,
Oh
I just like
God.
watched that video going, there are so many things in this that I could not ever even possibly imagine eating. And I'm like watching and eating vicariously through her. So,
Oh my God, I'm jealous of her, frankly. Like,
right?
stomach issue girlies unite, but
Yes.
it's so
So
annoying
like,
not being able to eat stuff.
and then the fact that she like looks so good and like works out and like keeps her body really like she used to be like I think she might still but do bodybuilding competitions and stuff. So she's like very fit and then she can eat whatever the heck she wants. I mean, she did an entire video that was one of the competitions was like a boat of sushi. And so she got like 10 rolls of any sushi she wanted off the menu. And I was like, who wouldn't want that? Like, who wouldn't want to just like eat as much sushi as you can stuff into your body? Like, that's my dream.
That sounds so good. The fact that she gets paid for that is amazing.
Yeah.
That's such a cool job.
If I like right before I die, I think I'm gonna have like an assortment of all the foods that I can't eat. And I'm just gonna eat them all as much as I want right before I go. Like if I was terminally ill, that is my plan. So
That's a solid plan.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna do that too. Honestly.
We
Like,
have a
why
joke in my
not?
family that if you see me eating like 10 pizzas, you know that I'm on my last breath. So that's my dream.
So that's how we
Um,
know. Okay. If you just don't tell us. So I ate a
I-
lot of pizza today.
so, and
Okay.
I love that she also gets to like travel the world and try all
Yeah.
these foods and like everything. So, well, this week's movie, I know we discussed it last week, Lori. But after seeing Free Willy, like everyone that I know when I was growing up wanted to be a marine biologist. And although I was like very interested in that type of stuff, like that was the same thing. It was like really hard for me to watch animal movies. I don't think I could watch animals suffer. But before we get into the movie, before we get started, I'm Allison, the millennial.
I'm Hannah, the Gen Z.
And this Millennial Meets Gen Z is a podcast where we revisit movies, TV shows, and pop culture moments that shaped the 90's. I bring the nostalgia and context, and Hannah brings a fresh set of eyes and first time reactions. And together we figure out why these stories stuck and like what still holds up today.
Yeah.
So, after watching Free Willy, Hannah, do you think you would want to change careers and take to the ocean?
No, no, no. It
Okay.
honestly, it made me sad. And I don't think I could do that. Especially not be an animal, a marine animal trainer.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do that. That was crazy. It's crazy.
So remind me, what did you know of this movie before we talked about it last week?
Well, I knew it was about an orca. Knew it was about an orca.
That's good.
Yeah, and I knew that it was about the orca getting saved, but
Okay.
I believe I had seen like a dolphin movie or I'd heard of like a dolphin movie. Isn't there like a dolphin movie about SeaWorld or something like that with like a similar
Documentary,
premise? Yeah.
Blackfish.
Yeah, I think I had to watch
Yep.
that for a class or something like that. So I kind of put, and that's actually in my notes where I was like, I've seen something like this, and it's very sad. It's very
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah, that was a documentary. So did you have any expectations like going into it?
I did not think the orca would look as realistic as it did. Was that a real orca?
Well, let's get through the movie and I will actually explain how they made this later.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So our synopsis is when a maladjusted orphan, Jesse, played by Jason James Richter, vandalizes a theme park, he is placed with foster parents and must work at the park to make amends. There he meets Willy, a young orca whale who's been separated from his family. Sensing kinship, they kind of form a bond, and with the help of a kindly whale trainer, Ray Lindley, played by Laura Petty, they develop a routine of tricks. However, a greedy park owner, Dial, played by Michael Ironside, soon catches wind of the duo and plans to profit off of them. As we talked about last week, this movie's tagline is a 12-year-old street kid, a 3-ton orca whale, a friendship you will never imagine, an adventure you'll never forget. And like Lori and I said, we definitely forgot the adventure. We remember there was a kid and a whale, and that was about it. So I went into this movie remembering it was really weird what I remembered. I remembered that I cried in the beginning and then I was okay by the end. Um, and so when I went to watch this movie, I actually had to watch it like the beginning and then I had to stop. I had to stop the movie and I had to walk away and then I had to come back a couple of days later and try to start over and watch it
Yeah.
again. So I got through it the second time, but I do remember just being really upset.
Yeah.
So without giving any of the movie away, what other thoughts did you have about this week's movie?
Okay. This is a little crazy. I think you might agree. Jesse was so annoying. Jesse was so annoying. Besides him saving the orca, Willy loved that whole thing, loved him and Willy's relationship. Jesse was such a little brat. And I get it. I get being, well, I don't personally get it, but like I can't imagine how hard that would be being in a position where you don't have parents and where you're trying to get parents. But he was such a brat to his
Well,
foster
he was
parents.
dumped. He was dumped by his mom. He was a foster kid. He's gonna have issues. He's gonna be rebelling. He needs therapy for sure to get through some of the problems, but also like he's probably been pushed around. I mean, they talk about kind of like the facility that he was in a little bit. And he has like very, very much like has like trust issues. And like he doesn't have any guarantee that these people are good people or
Yeah.
not just like gonna lock him in a bedroom and not let him leave anywhere, you know? So I don't know. I kind of
That's,
saw it from that perspective, but well,
I
let's
know.
rewind. We'll get into it. So Free Willy, the original, was made in 1993. It was written by Keith Walker, who actually played Mr. Walsh in The Goonies. Have you seen the movie The Goonies?
Nope.
No. Okay. Well, that's like a late 80s movie, but a really good one, that
I
is
heard of
referenced
it.
all the time and does impact a lot of movies. So eventually, maybe that'll have to be a throwback that we watch.
Yeah.
But he was often an actor on TV shows, including like Days of Our Lives. But he was also a writer and he wrote things for mostly like episodes in the 70s and 80s, like Emergency, MASH, and the Hardy Boys. And then mostly he just wrote all the Free Willy movies. So this and then the rest of them. The other writer was Corey Blackman, who mostly wrote TV movies, like things that were made for TV. And it was directed by Simon Windsor, who directed movies like The Young Indiana Jones, the young one, not the regular one, Operation Dumbo Drop, which is a 90s movie, The Phantom, and Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. Now, I will tell you, Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles is not one of the ones that's made our list.
Okay.
It's just kind of Crocodile Dundee is a good movie, but the follow-ups and the sequels and everything is not like
It's
that
about a
interesting.
crocodile in Los
No,
Angeles?
it's just a
Okay.
person from the outback being dropped into the United States. That's really all that movie is. Um, so we open the movie on an open ocean off the coast of Oregon and Washington is kind of where it was filmed. We see orcas, pods of orcas, swimming, they're breaching, and it's magical as you hear the swelling music. If you didn't know that it was magical, the music is what tips you off. And we hear the orcas calling to each other, and you notice that they're like dorsal fins are like super tall as they're like
Mhm.
coasting through the water. So let's talk orcas for a hot minute before we get into this. But the orca or the killer whale is a toothed whale and the largest member of the oceanic dolphin family. So it's related to the dolphin. It's recognizable by its pigmentation. It's mostly black on top, white on bottom, with like white eye patches, kind of like a panda of the sea. That's not an official term. That's from me. So
They're so beautiful, though. They're
nothing
beautiful
online says
whales.
panda of the sea, though. I just want to be clear. That's my interpretation.
I agree
Um,
with that, though. That's a good one.
Panda of the sea. Okay. They live from the Arctic to the Antarctic regions to tropical water, but mostly are found in the cool coastal waters. They are apex predators with a very diverse diet, including bony fish, sharks, rays, birds, marine mammals like seals, dolphins, and whales. And because of its diet, it's what gave the killer whale the killer moniker. Um, they also have a tendency to play with their food and even kill things when even they're not going to eat it. So, like they've been known to like wear salmon like a hat.
What?
Yeah, and like play with their food. Is very rude in my opinion.
A
Like
little bit.
if you're not going to eat it, don't kill it, but maybe I was never a killer whale in a former life.
Yeah,
So,
it's kind of like hunting for fun almost, like when
yeah.
hunters just hunt for sport.
Yeah. So they eat on average about 500 pounds per day. Uh, this is the dolphin version of the professional eater that I just talked about. So, that's a lot of cheesecake. They are highly social. They often live in large pods and they hunt like a wolf pack does. So they're often like called the wolves of the sea, which I kind of still liked the pandas of the sea, but pandas don't hunt in the same way. So
Yeah.
what can you do? Bamboo doesn't bamboo doesn't run.
You
On
know?
average, males can grow up to 26 feet long and weigh in excess of 6 tons, where females are a little bit smaller, growing up to 23 feet and weighing 3 to 4 tons. That's on average. But there
Okay.
have been larger. both male and female orcas out there weighing more and being much larger. So,
That's kind of terrifying. Okay.
well, yeah, they're a little big. They can live 50 to 80 years, which I was very surprised. And in 2005, the southern resident orcas were actually added to the U.S. endangered species list. Um, Orcas have about an overall worldwide population of about 50,000.
That's
And I
it.
don't know if that's a recent number because of all the environmental concerns that we have this year and last year. I'm not sure in terms of what the numbers are, but something to pay attention to, especially because they're, like it says, they're for cooler waters. There's like more oxygen in cooler waters. So things to just think about.
Oh, that's
As you may
sad.
heard, as you may have heard in the news in the past few years, orcas can and do attack sailboats and small vessels. They've actually sunk like between 20, I think it's between 2020 and 2023, they sunk like 500 boats
Holy crap.
or damaged, I should say damaged 500 boats. I don't know if they didn't sink all of them. So that would have been a lot. That would have been probably
Yeah.
like a the orcas are attacking us situation.
I mean, I
Um,
would do the same if I were an orca. Like boats trying to help me. I would do the same. I'd use my big size to my
well,
advantage.
I was worried about the well, yeah, I was worried about what's his name that is like heading is going to be doing his like world round the world trip. I'm blanking right now. He used to have the Phoenix, his cat's named Phoenix. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oliver. Um, so Oliver is like made Instagram viral videos because he like sailed from like Washington to Hawaii and then like has a plan to sail around the world but had to get a new boat. And anyway, I was just like, does he know about Marcus? Like I'm kind of worried about him. So
Jeez.
they did say, Oliver, if you're listening, they did say that they recommend small vessels and sailboats and stuff have bags of sand that you like put out by the sonar to like help confuse or block the sonar or something from the killer whales to like it's supposed to distract the killer whales from attacking your boat because
Okay.
apparently they typically attack like your propeller and rudder and stuff like that. So
Oh wait, that's
um,
kind of cool though. The sand can prevent that.
I know
Interesting.
that's the what the Googs said. So I'm not in the I'm not a fourth generation sailor, so I have no idea. But this is just what the Googs said. I just thought that was kind of interesting. Okay,
I
so
agree.
let's get back to the movie. So we see a few fishing boats waiting around the bend for the orcas, and they pull out nets to trap the orcas. This is the part that everybody that was really hard. The orcas start to panic. The fishing boat cuts off an orca by slapping paddles together, and the orca calls out to its family. We're gonna go through that. I'm not going to give any more description than just like they caught an orca. Okay. So in the next scene, we see a young kid asking passerbys for money and using whatever excuse about his mom dropped him off without money or needing money for a bus home. There are four street kids. Our main character, Jesse, as we said, was played by Jason James Richter, who's actually known for movies like The Little Things, Last Call, and Remember the Sultana. I have not seen any of those, to be honest with you. Those are all newer. Um, but he was known as a kid for movies like Cops and Robertsons, Neverending Story Part 3, or the third movie of Neverending Story, and then all the other Free Willy movies. And then he was
Yeah.
also in a Michael Jackson music video, Childhood, which I thought
Oh,
was interesting.
that's cool.
Um, so maybe after this movie, he was like hip with the Michael Jackson. Or yeah, so his friend Perry was played by Michael Bacall, who has been known to be in movies like Inglourious Basterds, Django Unchained, and he was a writer on Scott Pilgrim versus the World and 21 Jump Street. So he helped write those movies.
Oh my God, I
Um,
love Scott Pilgrim versus the World. That's so cool.
Well, he helped write that one. Vector was played by Isa Malone, and this is the only movie that he ever did, and he seems to have kind of just fallen off the face of the earth because there's nothing on the Gooks about him after that. Gwenny was played by Danielle Harris. And even though Vector and Gwenny have like small parts, I think it's important to point out Danielle Harris. So she's known for Don't Tell Mom, The Babysitter's Dead, Halloween, The Last Boy Scout, and Halloween 4. She was also the voice of Debbie Thornberry on The Wild Thornberrys. She was in City Slickers, which is on our list. And she was in Boy Meets World as the infamous Teresa T.K. Kiner. And I think she's even been on Pod Meets World interviewed in one of their earlier seasons. She was also Haley Wheaton in Wish Upon a Star, which is a movie that we will be seeing eventually. But it's hard to find. So, but it's on our list because it's a perfect like 90's outfit, like fashion movie. Like if you want to see what 90's fashion was really, it has a lot of that in there.
Oh my God, I want to see it now. I love that.
Back on the street, the kids are all panhandling. They're trying to pull their money to get some food, which is a good cause. They see
Yeah.
people leaving their scraps on their plates at a nearby restaurant and swipe it, taking off as the waiter chases them. They also stumble upon a catering truck on their way home and swipe food and a cake. They head back to the skate rink where they seem to like hang out there, and the kids are eating the cake with their hands and just talking about where they came from. Jesse and Perry said that they bolted from a place called Cooperton. Gwenny said she waited at Cooperton until she was placed into a foster home and then she left because it was easier to get out of there. And then Jesse talks about wanting his own place, like an apartment. Just then the cops show up and one of the kids steps on the cake as they split, which is probably tracking frosting footprints everywhere. I was like, this is a terrible idea. It's how you get caught.
Yeah,
Like
that was kind of stupid.
frosting footprints are like, I mean, then they don't even
Yeah.
show those footprinents, but I'm
I
sure that
know.
that's how the police chased them down. They
Exactly.
split
And
up.
the whole cake thing, I just thought was
Yeah.
funny that they were just like eating it. I was like, of all things, you're gonna eat
I
a cake.
mean, if
Okay.
you're gonna steal something, that's a pretty good thing to steal as a kid.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah,
get
for
cake
sure.
willy-nilly as a kid. You don't
A
have
whole
adult
cake.
money to just like go and buy a whole cake. So
Yeah, it's true.
Uh, the kids split up, and Jesse and Perry slip away through a fence and into a building where they set off an alarm that they don't notice. They start tagging the building inside, which I was like, well, that sucks, you know.
Yeah.
And they see an orca inside the tank, or Jesse does at least, having his friend has like tagged all the windows. And you can hear the orca like calling out as Jesse looks in, and Perry yells, Jesse, cops, run, and takes off running. And Jesse gets caught by the cops. At the police station, we see a detective saying breaking and entering, malicious mischief, vandalism, resisting arrest. Anything else happen that I should know about? And Jesse says, yeah, robbed a few banks. Is that a problem? The detective says, yeah, I'm glad you were only out there 3 days because of all the things you racked up in three. That's a lot to do in 3 days.
Yeah, I agree.
The detective and the kid obviously know each other as Jesse asked, did you miss me, Dwight? And the detective said he kept the kid out of court and he has to clean up his mess at the adventure park, putting him in juvenile lockup if he doesn't want to do his community service. So he has those two options, clean up your mess or go to juvie.
Yeah.
Jesse has a placement at the Greenwoods, and so it's implied that he'll go back or he'll go and live there. No one has heard from his mom in 6 years, but he seems to keep thinking that she's going to come back for him. So um,
That made me very sad for him.
there's a
Yeah,
lot of movies in the 90's that are like, it's an orphan, and oh, my parent is coming back for me.
that made me
Um,
so sad for him.
yeah. Well, Dwight Mercer, the detective, is played by Mike Helty Williamson, who's most known for his role as Bubba in opposite Tom Hanks in Forrest Gump. Um, He's also been in movies like Heat, The Purge, Election Year, and Fences. In the 90's, he was also starring in the TV show The New WKRP in Cincinnati. The original show, I actually love. There's like a turkey drop episode, which just like is brutal, but also hilarious at the same time. So I'll have you watch that eventually. That's a
Yeah.
70's show, but they made a new one in the 90's. He was also in movies like Waiting to Exhale, Con Air, 12 Angry Men, Primary Colors, and Buffalo Soldiers, and has been acting in a lot of great things ever since. So he's got a very long IMDb page.
Okay. Okay.
The Detective drops off Jesse to the Greenwood's home. Glenn Greenwood was played by Michael Madsen, who was known for The Hateful Eight, Kill Bill Volume 1, War Games, and Species. He was also in Thelma and Louise as Jimmy. He's like a musician boyfriend that kind of sucks. Um, Annie Greenwood was played by Jane Atkinson, who was in movies like The Village, 24, and Our Town. But she was also in the 90's movie Blank Check, which I'm pretty sure is on our list to be watching this year.
I think so. I think that one is. We've talked about that one before, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because it's about a kid who gets a blank check, and like,
That's
what would you
so
do
beautiful. Oh my
as a
God,
kid
a
with a
million
blank check?
dollars. Yeah.
So I won't spoil it. Okay. So Annie Greenwood tries to suggest that, Jessie learned something like computers and that she's taking a class. And you can also kind of tell that like Glenn, the dad or the foster dad, like doesn't really get along with Jessie and Jessie doesn't really get
Mhm.
along with him. He has like father issues.
Yeah.
Um, and then did you notice this? But like the kid has an amazing bedroom.
Yeah, I did. And the entire house was so nice. Like these people got it set up. They got him a baseball. They got him all the stuff, his shoes. I loved his shoes. I It was crazy. And I was like, and you're not grateful for this? Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's troubled. So
yeah,
let's give him a hot minute. He's been
this is true.
thrust into the situation. He didn't get to choose it. So,
Yeah,
but this bedroom has like all windows and it's like looking out onto the bay. It's like
yeah.
picturesque. I'm pretty sure that alone, that view is like, I've been watching a lot of real estate on Netflix, like shows on Netflix. And I would be like, that's like easily $500,000 just for that view right there.
Yeah,
And then probably like 1 million based on being on the coast and whatever, a couple million. But it's
yeah,
incredible view. That kid was spoiled rotten. Okay.
yeah.
So the family's obviously, as you said, the baseball, the shoes, like trying to get Jesse to be happy there. And Jesse gets out his harmonica and plays it. Now, do you play the harmonica, Hannah?
No, but
Okay.
I, yeah, I
Well,
thought that was interesting.
when I was going through boxes and packing to move into my house, I have to admit that I found at least three harmonicas. I feel like it's the ADHD meme, like go to the store, buy a harmonica, get back home. I already have a harmonica. Go to the store, buy a harmonica, get back home. I already have the harmonica. Yeah, I was never really going to the store for a harmonica. I was always picking them up on various vacations, always like at a touristy gift shop, but like why did I keep buying harmonicas? And like, who the heck knows? And I'm thinking after seeing this movie, it must have been a 90's thing because I can think of at least 3 to 4 movies with harmonicas in them. And I probably have 3 to 4 harmonicas somewhere from my 90's buying. Do
That's
I play
crazy.
do I play the harmonica? No, absolutely not. I never ever learned to play the harmonica. However, I did see a video recently of like someone teaching, I think they were teaching Michelle Obama to play a harmonica. And so now I like really want to try. It was a really good video. It was very like good tutorial. And I want to try to see if I can finally like learn it. So,
Oh,
and now that I
cool.
want to see if I can learn it, can't find a single harmonica.
Of
So,
course, yeah.
I may need to go to the store to get one.
Your fourth or fifth harmonica.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect.
Probably like 7 by the time I like go through all my stuff. Um, well, the next day we see Greenwood dropping Jesse off at the adventure park to serve as community service, dropping him off with a bike and asking him if he knows how to get back home later. He doesn't really respond, and he takes the bike into the aquatic theater. He asks for Randolph and gets sent to the guy's house, which is right by the water. Looking around the house, he spots a whale sculpture, which is really cool. And Randolph appears. And Randolph Johnson is played by August Schellenberg, who's known for his role in movies like The Black Robe, The New World, and Dreamkeeper. Jesse is left at the aquatic theater to scrub off the spray paint with buckets and sponges, which I'm not confident that that's how spray paint comes off unless it's really fresh.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
pretty
still
sure you need like a
confused.
scraper.
Yeah, I'm still confused, like, what their point of that is. I know, like, they were trying to be all degenerate and stealing food and surviving, but, like, what?
Why would you tag? Yeah.
What? That's evidence of all things. Just, they could
Yeah.
have probably gotten away from the cops if they didn't spend their time doing that.
Yeah,
Like,
probably. He sees the orca and goes above to get a better look. The orca pops out of the water and splashes him, and Randolph catches him out there. And we're told that the orca is 7,000 pounds and his name is Willy. Don't bother him and he won't bother you, Randolph says. Good luck. Okay.
yeah.
Jesse hears that the show above is about to start, and the trainer is working with two sea lions, Olivia and Belinda. The trainer, Ray Lindley, is played by Lori Petty, and who you'll see again in the movie A League of Their Own. I think we're watching that this summer. She's also in movies like Point Break and something called Tank Girl, which I've never heard of and sounded weird.
Yeah, me
Um,
either.
the announcer says that the audience will see Willie in the main tank soon, and Willie jumps out of the water. Trainer Ray says to Jesse that Willie doesn't like anyone. He's a case, a very special case. And Jesse says, who isn't?
Yeah.
Jesse is playing with his harmonica again when Glenn asks him to play catch. Glenn says that Dwight told him that he needs to make rules, but being a rule breaker himself, he's not really a rule maker. So he asks Jesse for help on what kind of rules does he really need? Jesse says he needs, he doesn't know initially, and then he's like, well, rule number one, I need an allowance every week.
Yeah.
And Glenn gives him $5. Like, sweet, it's working.
Yeah.
Glenn says, but he needs him to be in bed by 10 p.m., up every morning for breakfast, home every night by 7 p.m. Don't go running around the neighborhood and disappearing without telling someone. I'm going to pause here and tell you this is evidence that, like, you were allowed to go running around the neighborhood. You just had to tell someone where you're going. So,
Yeah. I did pick that up, and honestly I thought those were very valid rules. I was like,
yeah.
okay, for being a 12-year-old, this is pretty reasonable.
So Jesse agrees. And the next day we see Jesse cleaning up the paint in the observation area. He pulls out his harmonica and the orca comes over and calls. Jesse goes above and alongside the tank with his harmonica and Willie splashes Ray. Ray says he doesn't want to perform and he's smart and nasty. And Jesse helps sort good and bad fish for Willie's food. Back at home, he opens the windows and sneaks out the back and into the adventure park to play for Willie. The light flips on and Jesse falls into the orca tank, sinking to the bottom. Willie pulls him off the bottom and pushes him up to the top of the water to the edge of the pool, rolling him over. Jesse spits up the water and wakes up and thanks Willie for saving his life. We see him back at the Randolph's house, getting warm, or at Randolph's house getting warm. Randolph says he's lucky. Jesse says he and Willie appreciate each other, so they really like understand each other.
Yeah.
And Randolph says Willie like must see Jesse. Like, there's not a lot of, he doesn't make eye contact with anybody else, but he must actually be making eye contact with Jesse and like actually seeing him. And then Randolph takes Jesse back home. Glenn and
Yeah.
Annie run out to greet him, and Randolph suggests that although Jesse's community service is coming to an end, they do need someone to help out, and they'd actually pay him. So Glenn and Annie, they agree as long as he doesn't sneak out at night, and he does ask for what he needs, which I will, spoiler alert, he does not agree. Like, he does not always do the second part of that. Well, actually,
Yeah.
he sneaks out at night and doesn't ask for what he needs
Yeah,
later. So
no.
the next day, JC races to work on his bike, and Willie is definitely upset. He's in a net for examination, and he's like completely freaking out. Ray is yelling at the guys. Willie's too old when they caught him from some sketchy catcher, and then they just put him in a dolphin tank, not one made for orcas. She said this is not the circumstances she signed up for, and they just told her she needs to make do.
Yeah.
Jesse undid the net and Willie is happy. Down at the dock, Jesse talks a fishing guy into giving him a fish, and Jesse runs into Perry, who tries to get him into like the gang that he's joined. Jesse says he'll think about it. Jesse gives Willie the fish, and Willie brings it back, pretty much asking Jesse to put it in his mouth. Jesse touches Willie's nose and then leaves. Willie follows him and waves at him, and then Jesse is training Willie, and they're doing tricks together. Ray tries to feed him again and he splashes his tail. So Ray teaches Jesse about orcas and that they live in pods and huge groups. And she talks about how she's going back to school to get her PhD in marine biology and she wants to work in the ocean. She talks about how Willy's fin is flopped over because that's what happens in captivity, which is actually true. Usually 60% of orcas in captivity will have their fin flop over because of stress.
So
Um,
sad.
she said he needs a bigger tank. He's in a dolphin tank, and she says they won't build him a bigger pool until he makes money. So she asks if Jesse can help out with that. Ray loves orcas, and the orcas love to be touched, and even like touching his tongue.
Mhm.
Back at Randolph's house, Randolph gives Jesse a Haida book on whales. He's native, he's Haida, and he tells him the native story of how the orca appeared, which is a very beautiful story. Jesse was so enchanted with the story when he went back home, he retold it to Annie, his foster mom. The next day at work, he played with Willy, and then he goes down to the dock and he stole a salmon for Willy and kept
Mhm.
training him, working with him every day. At night, though, he'd hear Willy cry and he didn't understand. They kept working on tricks, including swimming together. And then one night, Jesse stopped by Glenn's shop, dropped off after dinner, to drop off dinner, and he sees Glenn has a photo of him up on his shop next to his wife, which is a super cute moment. And
Yeah.
then he sees a photo of Glenn in the vintage car that he sold, and he talks to him about it. And then he sees a photo of Glenn with his mom. And Jesse says, like, his mom's still coming for him. And Glenn
Mhm.
says, that's not what they heard. And Jesse gets really upset and leaves.
I think that's understandable, but also 6 years. Six
Yeah.
years. Like, I feel like, yeah, for a 12-year-old kid, that's understandable, but you were six when she left. You
Yeah.
have
But
these
it's hard
great
to, like, imagine your parent doesn't want you.
Yeah, I can't imagine how hard that is. I mean, in retrospect, I guess it makes sense why he was such a little brat, but it's also like these people love you. Like it was clear that they were fond of him and wanted
Right.
to make his life better. And honestly, my favorite character was Glenn. Won't even lie. I loved Glenn, especially for the ending.
I Yeah, well, we'll get into it. So Jesse comes home late and Glenn and Annie start fighting. I don't like Glenn in that moment. Glenn says terrible things, probably knowing that Jesse can hear him and
Hmm.
shouldn't have said any of those things. Like, I get that
Yeah.
he's frustrated, but he's acting like he didn't want this kid. And he's been trying pretty hard for somebody who didn't want the kid. And
Yeah.
like it just kind of seems contradictory to everything that he was doing, but it kind of makes it sound like he was doing it just because his wife wanted it. And
Yeah.
they don't really resolve that other than just Glenn being nicer later.
Yeah.
So Jesse
I
throws the
agree.
baseball through the window because of the fighting. Glenn assures Jesse that while they're fighting, they're not hurting each other. They're just arguing and everything's still okay. And they do like him. The next day, Jesse buys a fish for Willy with his own pocket money instead of stealing it.
Mhm.
Perry comes by and tries to lure Jesse back to making money on the streets and gives Jesse a postcard for Venice, California.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah,
Like, that reminded me of so many people from my high school. I was like, so many people from my high school
just wanted to
randomly
go to
went.
Venice, California.
No, 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 not specifically that, but like went on these random like business ventures and like would create gangs and like try to like recruit people. And I was like, okay, that just made me laugh a little bit. I was like, okay,
Okay,
yeah,
that did not happen in my high school.
it's so weird. I see it like all over people's Snapchat stories. Some of them are rich now, but I'm
Yeah,
like, okay, I don't know where you selling random gardening
yeah.
supplies is coming from. Like hose and stuff. That sounds bad, but you know what I mean, like the gardening tools. Lots of gardening tools.
Okay. Well, Jesse stays for Willy and he talks about his mom and how she sucks and that the Greenwoods are actually okay. Jesse realizes Willy misses his family too, and he says he hopes he finds him one day. Also, like how he's in a tank.
Yeah.
So, what's your plan here, kid?
Like, where's he gonna go?
Right? The boss shows up to the Orca tank and Jesse shows off the tricks that they can do, and the boss wants to make sure that they can do all of that again and open the Willy show up to the public. And they were like, yes, we can do that. So later the place is open to the public and the kids are banging on the glass. There should have been someone below going, no, that's not acceptable. This is a lot for Willy. Meanwhile, the kids are still tapping on the glass. I was so annoyed. I was just like
Me
furious.
too.
Like that is not what we do. No other facility lets that stuff happen.
No.
But Willy's
That's so
upset and
overstimulating too. Sorry, that's so overstimulating too
yeah.
for poor Willy.
Yes. And he gets upset and he cracks the glass down below in the observation area. And Jesse was really upset and takes off. Like he tried to do a show and Willie didn't really want to do it and then cracks the
Mhm.
glass. And so Jesse takes off and Dwight and the Greenwoods follow him. Dwight tries to talk to him and lectures him on chasing after someone like his mom who didn't want him when there was people here that do. And he says she feels sorry for Willie. The animals can be unpredictable and misbehave. That doesn't mean you have to lose faith in them. That's kind of like a little bit of a metaphor to like also him, right? Like that
Yeah.
they're not losing faith in him even though he misbehaves.
Yeah.
So Jesse sneaks back into the park mad, and Willie just wants to play. And
Mhm.
Jesse's mad, and Willie keeps splashing him, and Willie starts doing the calling, crying. And Jesse says he's leaving for California, and Willie's still crying. And Jesse climbs up to see what Willie is like calling to, and he hears the calling of the orcas out in the bay. It's Willie's family. In the observation tank, they see that the guy is breaking the tank so that it leaks. So Jesse runs and wakes up Randolph. They're trying to collect the insurance money. They decide to figure out how to free Willie. They're putting them back into the ocean. Like, this is the plan. So they
Yeah.
make a sling for him to go into, and the tank breaks like down below. And so Jesse dives in to get Willie into the sling and secures him in the sling. They hoist him onto a trailer and have to figure out how to pull him. So they steal Glenn's truck. So much for asking, and
Yep.
take it to the trailer. They radio Jesse. Glenn tries to radio Jesse in the truck, but they're not in the truck because they're trying to keep Willie wet. They sneak away with Willie, trying to figure out the least conspicuous way to get to the ocean and take the old forest road, but there's a tree down and the trailer slides off the road. They try to get the truck and the trailer to go forward, but they're stuck. And so they end up having to call Glenn and Annie to come get them. But never once did they say, bring a chainsaw. They were just like, come.
Yeah.
So, because I was like, all that takes is a chainsaw. What's the problem? What's the problem?
Yeah. Like what? It was kind of
I
stupid.
live in a different area, I guess. Like my neighbor, I would just be like, "Hey, Alan, go bring me a chainsaw."
Yeah,
Um,
no, like,
he tells Glenn and Annie that they tried to kill Willie, and so they're trying to take him back to the ocean. And Jesse begs Glenn for help. So Glenn says, "Okay, get the winch and the chain from the truck, and get the trailer. We're gonna get the trailer free, backing up back down the road and heading down the regular route, which may get them caught, which is what they were
mhm.
concerned about." But Willie needs more water. So they take him into the car wash, which I think is really cute. And luckily, during that time, the bad guys like pass them while they're wetting
Yeah.
him down. Um, but then when they get towards the ocean, they see that the bad guys are blocking the way, and Glenn takes off, breaking the gate, and drives him to the boat launch to get him in the water. Glenn, like, as they're struggling with the bad guys and like as they're kind of trying to get Willie into the water, like Glenn like punches the bad guy and like go Willie, and like Jesse lets him go free. He's like, "No, you're not gonna mess with my kid," and like
Yeah.
punches the guy. The bad guys though still have two boats out with nets blocking Willie, and Willie gets the net and is kind of stuck in that area. And this is where I thought to myself, Willie's gonna jump over the net.
That's what I thought too. I was like,
That
there's no
seems like
way.
that seems like a legit,
Yeah.
that seems more legit than what ends up happening. Spoiler. Jesse runs to the high peak and calls out to Willie and says, "Follow him to the breakwater, that the nets are dangerous." Jesse says goodbye to Willie and encourages him to jump the wall to be free. Jesse says in the native language, Sana na Iois. And I apologize if I just completely butchered that. Willie jumps the breakwater and is
Yeah.
free.
Oh,
And the
Willie.
bad guy looks on and says, "I hate that whale." That's Michael Ironside. And Jesse hears Willie making noises. Willie joins his pod and Jesse goes home. And then we hear Michael Jackson's "Will You Be There," which was huge for this movie. It was a big, I think this movie would not have done as well had it not been tied to Michael Jackson. But we will post that video, that music video, later. Actually, it'll probably be posted out before the pod goes out so you can see it. But that's the end of the movie. So what I miss?
So Dwight, he was like, as you said, he was a detective, right? I was so confused what he was
Yeah,
because, yeah, like,
Yeah, as far as I could tell, I mean, he was a plainclothes officer, so I'm assuming he was a detective.
Okay, that makes sense. I
You're talking
really
about Dwight,
liked,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
I thought it was so cute the noises Willie made. I was like, oh, he's like cooing kinda, like in a sense. I don't know. I thought
Yeah.
that was cute. That was cute. And then honestly, Glenn, as I said, is my favorite character. I would die if my car went into the water and filled up with water. But to save a
Yeah.
whale, I think I'd be okay with that. And I think that was a good final act of like, not final act, but like a good act of like love and care and like, hey, you're passionate
Yeah.
about a harmonica and a whale. Okay. I'll help with your environmentalist
Oh,
mission.
you're passionate about a harmonica and a whale. I think that should have been the tagline.
Right.
One kid, one harmonica, one whale.
Literally. I mean, and Willie liked the harmonica, so like that works. But I have
Right.
a newfound love of whales, I have to say.
Okay.
Willie was
Well,
so cute.
technically, dolphin.
Technically
Dolphin
dolphin.
version, like related to the dolphin,
Yeah, that's
not
interesting.
whale, but
Isn't it
similar.
called a killer whale though?
Yeah, it's called a killer whale because it's like the size of a whale and kills things, but it's related to a dolphin.
That's so that's so weird. That's cool.
You'll have to dive into your marine biology.
Yeah, maybe this is like how I become a vet for
This is your origins, your marine biologist origin story. But like
Free
everyone knows
Willy.
what I'm saying. Like, so okay, go ahead.
So what at first, like one of my questions was like, oh, like what's wrong with Willie? Like, why doesn't he like people? And as the story unfolded, I kind of like saw why. And he's in captivity in
Hmm.
a tiny tank. Like, I wouldn't
Hmm.
like people either. But I thought it was cool that he connected with Jesse because they're both kind of alone. They both
Yeah,
lost their families. And
absolutely.
I when the green ones were fighting, I kind of thought it was I like was thinking about it and from a different perspective, and I was like, I wonder if Jesse like grew up in a house with domestic abuse. That's why he like started crying. I was like, okay,
Possible.
that's so sad. Yeah, because I feel like
They kind
there's
they kind of imply that, don't they? When they
yeah,
kind of are like, we're not hitting each other.
yeah. So I was like, okay, and I wonder if that's why his mom and dad split or why his mom dumped him. It kind of
Yeah.
created me to have like a whole theory. Yeah, I was interested in that. I was like, okay, this makes a little bit more sense why he's the way he is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no. I wrote a bunch of times. I feel bad for this kid, but he has to stop being so bratty. Oh, that's so sad. But one thing I definitely wish they had expanded upon more was what happened with his foster family. I wish there was more of a storyline and if they adopted him or not. You know what I mean?
It's true. Well, there's a movie number two, three, and
Oh
maybe
yeah, I
four.
forgot there's
There's
sequels.
like more movies that he's in, so maybe that includes like, oh, they adopted him, and I don't know. I honestly like I'm not a big sequels person, so it's rare. And this was an animal movie, and it was hard to watch. And there's got to be whales in the sequels, so I'm like, or orcas anyway in the sequel. So I'm like, ugh, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Well,
wonder what the sequel's about. Oh my God, question for you. This
okay.
is an animal movie. Have you ever seen the movie Marley and Me?
Yes.
Okay, that's one of my favorite movies just because I think that sounds like I'm a sociopath. The ending makes me cry every time, but like sob, compulsively sob. But I think that movie is such a good representation of like families expanding and growing up and being in a relationship. I love that movie, and this kind of reminded me of that because it's an animal movie. This was like the second animal movie or the third animal movie besides the dolphin one I guess I've ever seen. But I think this one was a bit sadder than Marley and Me because I feel like Marley and Me was more just like about watching the family, you
Yeah.
know?
We'll eventually watch the movie Homeward Bound. I don't know if it'll be this year or not. I can't remember if it's on our list. And that's a sad but happy animal movie from the
Okay.
90s. And that kind of, I think, is it's got some like I think that kind of inspired movies like Marley and Me or like it's not exactly like that at all, but people who are listening to Free Willy or have seen the movie, they'll probably know Homeward Bound. Most 90s kids have seen that movie.
Okay.
But let's get to your one question about let's talk about how this movie was made.
Mhm.
So the movie was filmed using a combination of actual live action with Kaiko and special effects. So they used the orca
Oh,
Kaiko for many scenes, including highly realist, and then they also used like highly realistic animatronics for stunts. So Kaiko was in a pool where there was like animatronics out in the water. Um, so for complex movements like jumping, especially like any kind of complex movement, they used animatronics, and then they did some early supplementing of CGI, especially for the iconic final jump. That's CGI.
okay. Wait, that's super cool. So there was an actual orca involved.
Well, yeah, wait, let's hear. So Kaiko was actually performing for audiences in Reno Adventure in Mexico City before this movie was made. Keiko had come from Iceland. He was moved from Iceland to Canada, but he was bullied in Canada by other orcas, like in their facility that they had. So he was later sold to Mexico. Unfortunately, in Mexico, he had like really poor conditions. So the actual life in the tank in Mexico City led to his discovery by Warner Brothers, setting the stage for this movie. So the conditions that he was in Mexico was the conditions like from the movie, where it was a dolphin tank. It was poorly handled. He was not like very happy. He was in not great condition. And so the movie's captive star Kaiko was actually returned to the coast of his native Iceland in 2002, but unfortunately he died of pneumonia a year later because he didn't adapt to like the harsh climate of the Arctic again. So like he had been out of the Arctic for such a long time and taken to like warmer waters, taken to like pools and stuff, and then they tried to release him and he like got pneumonia and died. So
That's horrible.
it's such a tragic thing to find out. Um but I do think that there is some solace in this movie. One, the movie drew attention to the real life thing that was happening. Like this Keiko was in a facility in Mexico City and not an appropriate one for an orca. And it was also like drawing attention to things that were happening all over the world where everyone had like larger animals that should not have been in small captivity. Um, and was not for like rehabilitation or anything like that. Um, this also, just like Jurassic Park in the 90's, like it inspired a generation of where Jurassic Park inspired like a generation of paleontologists.
Mhm.
Free Willy inspired the Free Willy effect, is what they call it, and inspired like a huge generation of marine biologists. And not even if they didn't make it into marine biology, like Lori's not a marine biologist, but she had an interest in marine biology, and just like a lot of people did, and really importantly in ocean conservation. So this kind of helped launch the push for ocean conservation. I also think it's really important to note that there was then documentaries like Blackfish, like we talked about, and that documentary got put a lot of pressure on places like SeaWorld to end orca breeding programs and theatrical shows. And I do want to be clear that SeaWorld announced that they would end orca breeding and theatrical shows in 2016, around the time that this documentary was big, but they're actually still running those shows to this day. So I hope that people will continue to put pressure on facilities to only have animals for conservation, not keep them in enclosed small spaces. Like it's very important, especially here in the United States, there's a lot of regulations for any facility that's like legitimately run to have appropriate conditions. Like if an animal cannot be released back in or has only been bred in captivity, to like have appropriate conditions, not small dolphin tanks for a giant orca.
It's
So
horrible.
yeah, so hopefully we
Jeez.
will continue to like see the betterment of conservation for animals, and not just exploitation.
Mhm. I agree.
But on that sad note, let's turn it around and talk about our next movie. And this is one of my mom number two's favorites. Our next movie is Sister Act. And Sister Act is a movie from 1992. Um, have you heard of this movie?
I think I've heard of it. I know no idea what it's about. No
Wow.
idea.
When a lively lounge singer, Dolores Van Cartier, played by Whoopi Goldberg, sees her mobster beau, so her boyfriend, who's a mobster, Vince La Rocha, played by Harvey Keitel, commit murder, she is relocated for her protection. Set up in the guise of as a nun in a California convent, Dolores proceeds to upend the quiet lives of the resident sisters. In an effort to keep her out of trouble, they assign Dolores to the Covenant's choir, an ensemble that soon turns into a vibrant and soulful act that gains widespread attention. So it's like a musical. There's a lot of music to it. They're not just like singing, they're singing as part of the choir, so it's not that kind of musical where they're just like singing every time they go to the kitchen or something, but it's really good. It does have some religious aspects to it in terms of the fact that it does take place in a convent, but it is with a person that's like not really that religious when she starts. So it's kind of cool to see what she does and see what she does with music and see what the struggles that she has as somebody that is getting away from a bad boyfriend. Um, and what's really cool for me is that this is perfectly timed because I'm actually going to go see Sister Act on a stage at a local high school tonight.
Oh
Um,
God.
and then another community theater I just saw last night that we always go to their shows. They're doing Sister Act later this year. So I'm feeling like this is like the year of Sister Act. So it's going
Jeez.
to be all over.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Yeah, no. Going from a mobster boyfriend who murdered someone to Anana is, I like that. That's a pretty
Yeah.
cool plot. Okay.
It's a fun plot, and it's like got some kids and that she'll meet in it, and it's got some. It's great. It's a great.
Okay.
There's a good. I will say that the sequel to this movie was good. So,
Okay.
but we're just gonna focus on the first one and check that out. So,
Okay. Awesome.
I believe Sister Act is streaming, and where can we watch it? Is it great? I think it's on Disney Plus.
Okay.
Pretty positive.
Perfect. Awesome.
So that's where we're gonna watch it.
Perfect.
Kind of excited.
Awesome. Yeah. No, me too. I like that plot. I think, is it like a funny movie, would you say?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
absolutely.
I'm gonna
And
like that.
it's gonna have, I will tell you that it's gonna have the which you didn't like in Hocus Pocus. She has a she plays Sister Mary Catherine, and she has a funny role in this movie. So you might like her in this movie more,
Okay. Okay.
but
Sounds
you'll
good.
recognize her.
Okay. So connection. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. I'm
So
excited.
well, that is it for this episode of Millennial Meets Gen Z. Thanks for listening and experiencing these stories with us. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And find us on Instagram and Facebook for behind the scenes clips. We'll post the video, the Michael Jackson video, and you'll get other episode extras. Maybe if I find my harmonica, I'll post about that too. If you know how to play harmonica, send us a DM. But until then, next time, please be kind and rewind.
Bye, guys. Thanks for watching.
Bye. Thank you.